Oh, here she is. Here she is. Hey, we're live. I just made it go live. Hey.
How are you?
Well, how are you, cutie?
I'm good. Good to see you.
You too. Joe Morgan in the chat. Yes, I love you too. How are you, honey?
I'm good. Just
Is
finished up my
yoga teaching?
yoga and Pilates.
How many classes did you have today?
I had 4 today, which is a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, because they're like what, an hour each, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I do 3 Pilates and 1 yoga, 1 hot yoga. So it's a lot. By the end of the day, I'm like done.
Well, because you have to like do some of the stuff to show people, so you're like doing it.
That for me is actually like the easy part. Like when I have to like deal with a lot of people who are high maintenance or like really like use my voice, like over explain things, like that is what tires me out, to be honest. Like when I have to like do that more. Like my favorite classes that I teach are when I have like a bunch of regulars and they all know what they're doing and I can just like do it with them and we're just vibing together. But when I have like a class that's like chaotic or like a bunch of high maintenance people, I'm like, I fucking can't do this shit.
That's too much for your like bright light stuff. Is your the Pilates you teach, is it on the machines?
It is, yeah.
That stuff's cool. And then was your hot yoga like the hot yoga flow, or was it like a vinyasa?
So I teach like a very, like my style is like very rhythmic, like because I come from a dance background, and so it's very like flowy and kind of non-traditional yoga, I would say.
I like it. You probably make them work out. It's like a workout, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I mean, I feel like both of those practices they're so low impact on the body, but you see like such an incredible effect and like transformation in your body really quickly. And it's like, I actually just had someone make a comment to me the other day about how like he didn't realize that he could exercise without it being like aggressive or like that feeling of like, oh, I only accomplish something if it's hard. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. Actually, like exercise can be enjoyable and you can feel good in your body and be gentle and still see a difference in your body, you know?
It's still hard. I feel like it's hard in the moment because you like you put yourself through those hot classes and you're like at the end you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I survived. But
yeah,
I always love that. It's still been over 2 years since I've been in a hot class. Isn't that terrible?
Really? Like they haven't dropped it yet?
Well,
like
they have, but actually one of my friends, she found a class to start going to, a studio that apparently, my whole thing is if you played into the whole fucking thing, I don't want to support you anymore, right?
Yeah,
so she found some, I think, that were like kind of chill about people coming in, and so I'm like, okay, I will support them. It was sad because right when 2020 happened, they ended, because I was with Core Power, which I think Core Power is everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
I did a trade where I would wash these towels and I got unlimited. I had free yoga for 5 years, unlimited. It was a really good, but I had to 2 nights a week go pick up all these little, because they would at the end of class put these cold towels on people, which is amazing. Right. Yeah. And so that was my job, was to wash these towels, and I would get this trade. And then Core Power, because everybody was a franchise under Core, you could buy your franchise under Core Power, but then Core Power wanted to buy everybody back and make it more corporate. So they like started doing that, and then under that guise, then they're like, well, we can't have people doing trades, we have to make them employees, it was more corporate bullshit. Yeah. So I lost the trade, and at that point I'm like, I mean, I did it for a little bit and I sold to like pay in, but then I got paid back, and it was just weird. And then COVID basically happened, and I think I've talked to you about like the girl I hired, and she fucking fell for everything, and ugh.
Oh god.
But I did get my like February. Remember, I graduated, so I haven't done the like 200-hour yoga thing, but I did. I remember I graduated February 14th, 2020, I got my yin yoga certification.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
I just did it for fun. I just did it for fun. Yeah. And just to learn. And then I got the book with all the moves and stuff. So it's nice to like look back on that. But
yin is actually my favorite type of yoga to practice. Like if I was going to go take a class, because I don't like to take classes from people that teach like me, because it's like I don't need that. When I'm going to practice, I want to do something that's like deeper and more gentle on the body, and like, so yin is my favorite for that.
It is. And like I learned, it was nice because I had always gone to like vinyasa classes. So it was really, and like this class came up to do the yin, and I was like, oh, that'd be fun just to do for fun, right? And just to learn deeper. And it was. I'm like, oh yeah, this is really, and to make the like sequences because you hold it for so much longer, and it was really fun. Yeah. Oh wow. Well, you thanks for coming on, and you've been looking so hot lately, going out with your like hot outfit.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Is stuff back to like? Are they still doing masks in LA? Or trying?
It's not a mandate, but people are still wearing them. Like there's still people that come to my classes that wear them in my classes, and I'm like, you are crazy. You are literally a crazy person. Like I don't understand how, like, the mindset. I think, is it performative? Like that's kind of what I feel. It's like they're attached to it now. You know,
yeah, like in a yoga class, and that was what fucked me up the whole time, especially when my teacher like she was against it and then kind of fell for it. And I'm like, it's all about breath. It's all about fucking breathing.
I know.
Like,
I know. It's so bad. I'm just like, I don't know.
People would be like, oh, we do this to like keep ourselves healthy and stuff, and then like, oh no, you need this vaccine. You know, it was just like.
It's crazy. It really is.
People.
I've been surprised. So many people have surprised me with their choices over the last couple of years. You know, I know we've talked about this before, but it's like I feel like every time something happens, I feel so detached from it because I'm just like, it doesn't. Like, I just think I just see the world from a different perspective than most people do. Like, I feel like most people see the world from like the outside in, and I see the world from the inside out. And so I'm like, I'm not affected. You know, there's things happening every moment of every day all over the world, and I'm not directly affected by this. And so why am I gonna like let it derail me? Or like, you know, I go from like, what is it? What do I see with my two eyes? What do I feel with like my body? What do I experience in my life? And how am I making like my world better? And I just feel like this whole idea of like having to have a reaction to everything that you're told to react to is just so like foreign to me, you know?
Right. Well, you don't like being told what to do, probably just on a basic level too.
Well, and it just seems at this point, it's like, I feel like I have no patience for people that are like willfully ignorant, in my opinion. It's like, or they like it, or they're into it. Like they're like, this is part of my identity, is to like care about all this stuff and to like think that the government is going to like save us, and that like me voting this way or tweeting this way or doing all these things is going to like make a difference. And I don't know.
It just seems so fake. It seems so fake. Like followers are just followers, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's been weird. Thank you, because you were in the heart of it in LA, and you were like, "Fuck y'all." So I'm like thankful for you. Have you been doing more of your photography lately?
What's the last thing I did? I think the last shoot I did was with this brand, Mara, that I work with quite a lot. And then I'm actually going out of town next week, and I'm going to be doing a couple shoots out in the desert. I actually have like a few shoots lined up for next month, which they all kind of come at once. I feel like it's like an ebb and flow, you know? So I'm doing a few.
Rains and pours.
It does. And I really want someone to photograph me. I haven't had someone photograph me in a while. And I'm like, I feel like my body looks good right now. I'm like, I need to get that
I told
happening.
you can come out to Colorado. And I told my guy, I showed him your like Instagram and stuff, and I'm like, there was like one weekend he can't do it, but other than that, like a lot of June is free. So
I'm totally down to come out there. I think that would be really fun. I have yet to meet anyone from Twitter. And I'm like, I need to like, I feel like I want to meet people. Like I want to like experience people in person and like, you know.
It's so fun. It's so
fun, I bet. Like
that's what I've been doing. Like in 2020, I started that. I remember I probably met the first person around September, and then it was just like September 2020. It was like game on after that, and then I just started meeting a ton of Twitter people, and there are a lot of people out here, so it made it easy. But
do you feel like have people like surprised you with like who they are in person versus how they are on Twitter? Like.
Not really, and like half of them I didn't even like know, and they'll come up to me and they're like, "Oh, you're Forest Mom," you know. So like, there's that aspect. No, but I feel like everybody's been in our circles and everybody's been pretty real and pretty who they are, and I think so. I don't know. It's been great for me, like I said, because I lost so many friends, and then I started meeting everybody, so it was great.
Yeah. I just want to meet people because it's like, I feel like, the longer that I've been on Twitter, my whole experience on Twitter has like, it's been like a journey. I feel like it's changed. And it's like
some shit happened.
Well, and I feel like you start to realize you're like, I'm waking up every morning and saying like good morning to these same people every day. And it's kind of like this weird thing where you're like this substantial part of my consciousness every day. And to me, that's like, sometimes I have to take a step back from that because I'm like, I need a break from you guys.
Yeah, you're good about your breaks. That's good.
But like, I think that's kind of cool. Like, it's kind of like cool that we all found each other. And for me, it's like, there's so many people on there that I really wish I could meet in person, truly. Because I'm like, you're my friend. Like, you're my friend,
Yeah. We share real shit with each other on Twitter, right? Like,
it's like your thoughts and your mind and the things that you're going through and your emotions. And you just get to kind of see this really interesting part of people,
Especially your TikTok videos. Those are really interesting. I love them. That's what I love about like the Liberty community. I'm like, I like that there are women who can be powerful in their sexuality because there is something about that. There is something about that, right? And like, so I love that you share it, and I love sharing you and being like, yeah, that's my friend. She's hot. No, it is interesting, and like I said, yeah, all these like people I've met, and I have them in my house, and we have parties all the time. It's like, it is what it is.
I love it.
Oh, no, I didn't tell her to wear. She had her normal glasses on. I just wear sunglasses because my eyes look really weird on this camera. So
really,
yeah, they always look weird.
And actually see what's going on.
Yeah, you need your glasses.
I do. Just when I'm looking at screens, like I have astigmatism, and so if I'm looking at a screen, it's like too bright or something for me. It's like blurry. But I don't need glasses like just for like normal life.
Like driving around and all that.
Driving at night and looking at screens. I just can't. It's the light.
Yeah, I get that. Like, even I've always had really good vision all my life, and I'm like, since these smartphones came around, like I'm sure my vision is not as good anymore. Like,
I know. When I worked in advertising and I had to stare at a computer all day, it like really messed with my eyes.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Oh yeah, tactical. Yeah, when I'm on tacticals, I always wear I wore these ones last time, but I try to wear my Terminator ones when I'm with tactical. And it's so fun. So I don't know if you follow Terribly Tactical. Me and him, he does a stream on Sundays, and his co-host, he lets me on because he's nice, which is sweet. But he has a co-host, and it's so sweet. Him and his wife just had a baby, and they're like 24. They're super young. And he's like, he was like taking care of the baby while we're on the live stream, and it was like 5 days old. Like it's a brand new fucking. It is so sweet, and it gave me a white pill because I'm like, here's cool people having babies, and like and the whole time he's like, yeah, I grew up with his mother. Scales' mom like had a daycare or whatever that he would help with, so he already knew like the basics about taking care of a baby. And the girl, his wife, wants to go to sleep early, and he stays up streaming all night, so of course he'll do the night feeding. It was like so sweet. I was just like, oh my god. And he's all holding the baby on the stream. It was just it was the most beautiful.
So tiny.
They're so, and so yeah, Charlotte she was 7 pounds when she was born, so I mean she's around that. I know they like sometimes they like lose a little bit. I was about 11 pounds when I was born. Terribly was 11. He was a big fat baby too, but
that is very large.
I'm like, what the hell happened too? Because I ended up pretty proportionate. Like I was a fat fucking baby. My dad would say he was walking through the hospital and people would be like, oh, that's the dad of the 10 pound or the 11-pound baby.
Oh my gosh. Are you the oldest? How many siblings do you have?
No, I'm the youngest of 4.
Okay.
And by a lot. So I have 2 sisters that are like 10 and 9 years older than me, and a brother that's 5 years older than me.
Okay.
And you have one sister, right?
I have a brother and a sister.
Oh, brother and sister.
And we're all spread out too. Like my brother is 13 years older than me. My sister is 4 years older than me.
You're the baby though.
I'm the baby.
I mean, like, of course we are. Like,
I mean, duh.
I always say that to me. I'm like, of course I'm the baby. Hello. Especially at our age and how like the economy worked. Because like it was just so different between when my parents had my sisters and by the time I was like growing up, we moved from Chicago to Colorado and the economy was completely different. And like, yeah, it's just funny.
My mom still treats me like a baby and will do it forever. And she like, it's so funny though. I just like embrace it now. Like I'm like, when I'm with my mom, she treats me like I'm 7 and that's fine. Like,
yeah, they get a kick out of it. They get a kick out of it.
She loves it. I'm like, it's okay. What? Well, I was just gonna say that she will still say to me like, "You can move home if you want to." I'm like, "Mom, no."
That's what I'm gonna ask you. When you moved out initially, I don't know how old you were, but like, did they have a weird empty nest phase where they were like kind of crazy? Because that's what my parents went through when I moved out.
So I have moved out and back in a few times.
Oh, okay.
The first time I moved out, it's weird because like I've moved out and my sisters moved back and then my sisters moved out and I've moved back. And so it's like, I don't know how much they've really been alone. I think like it's always been like this revolving door of me and my sister like coming back and leaving again.
And they probably loved it. That was why I had to leave because I was like, so my sisters they're way older, and they got married and all that shit. And then my brother moved out at some point, and then there was just me. And my mother had been a mom for so long. That's all she she went back to work and stuff, but that's like all they know. And if you don't have like hobbies and things to do, right? So when I was moving out, oh my God, they were so weird. And I'm like, I'm moving out to be independent and on my own, and like they like went through some shit. I think my mother's a boomer, so she always will. But like, yeah, it was funny. I was just like, because that would be hard as a mother. Like, you're a mother for fucking 20 years, right? And then all of a sudden they leave. What do you like? It's got to mess them up, and it did, but it's all good now. It's all good. That's what like made me late because they were starting to act really weird because I was like, I was young. My birthday like falls after graduation, so I graduated high school at 17, and I was like, I need to get out of here. I don't know what's going on with y'all. Like, what are you gonna do?
I
parents?
get along with my mom a lot better when we're not living together. Like I need
Right.
like space from my mom. My dad and I are super cool. Like when I was living with them, like during COVID, I moved back in there for a little bit, and me and my dad are like we're cool. We get along. But like my mom and I, if we're like too much in the same space, it's like too much, you know? But it was funny,
Yeah.
like during that time, like during the pandemic, like, you know, my mom's like cooking me all my meals and like just spoiling me completely. I'm like, I have to get out of here.
They love doing it too. They like, that's their like, it's just like part of them where they're like, I just got to spoil my child and take care of my child. Like, which is like, it's okay, right?
I know.
Oh, Suffy's in the chat. Do not fucking screenshot me, Suffy. I know. Do you remember when he did that? Because it was when what's her face was here. And like
Yes.
I'm like, like leaning over there, and that's the picture.
That was the most chaotic live stream I've like ever experienced in my life.
It's shit gets chaotic sometimes. It was a chaotic night. It was fun. I'm like, whatever happens, right? But normally, like thought is a very strong personality and very like, so yeah, it's just like chaos. And they had just gotten married, and they've like,
yeah.
it was just a whole chaos. They have their own fucking chaos to deal with too. It was great.
I didn't know that she was so young. I didn't realize that.
I can technically be her mother. I found out when I
God.
met. So the first time I met her in person was in Arizona. I went to the Arizona libertarian, the state convention or whatever, and she went. And it was kind of fun for us because we're not from there, so it's more just like go hang out, party. And I was like, oh god, I can be your mother. We're partying together. Yeah. She's like, they're married now. I was like, all right, that's cool. What can you do? Well, like, and it makes me laugh because people always are mean to her anyways, right? And then and then they're like making fun of her getting married so fast. But then half the like traditional people who are making fun of her, they're like pro arranged marriages and shit. And I'm like, well, it's not that much different when you get
Haters. Like, if you're a hater, you're just a hater, and you'll find any reason to be one. Like, you know, these people that sit online and have all these opinions on like what everyone else is doing, it's like, get a life. Really.
Yeah, and you don't know the people. You don't like.
Was it you? I think it was you that said this like the other day, where it's like, why are you fixating on like other random people's like personal lives? There's like all this other shit going on in the world, and you're like hating on just random people on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sure I said something like that because it is like, stupid. It's we got other fucking shit to fry, and like you're like, oh, there's this person and if they don't like someone, and I know people don't like me, then fucking don't follow me. Like, just no. I'm not forcing you to be my friend or anything. Like, it just seems so easy, but that's how like normal people like us have lived our lives. We're like, you hang out with who you want to hang out with or whatever, and like online people are so weird.
I try to like remind myself of like what I was like when I was younger, because like there's been times in my life when I've been an unhappy person. There's been times in my life when I've been a bitch, like when I've been a mean girl. Like those were like lessons that I
than me. You can be mean girl to me.
But it's like you grow out of those things, and sometimes I remind myself of that with some of the people that are on there, where I'm just like, you're still learning, like you're just learning.
Yeah, you're just going through the whole like life process of like social skills and like things like that. And people have been online for so long now with social media and stuff. It's like, yeah, a lot of people just haven't learned that. Like, they're just bitchy.
I was so glad that I grew up like in the timing that I had with the internet. I'm so glad that there was no like camera phones, there was no social media when I was like a teenager and in my early 20s. Like, I'm so glad. I'm grateful for that. Like, you know.
Yeah, me too. And I remember like my first job out of high school, I was doing bookkeeping. So I was on a computer all the time. And that's like then when MySpace came around. And then, if you didn't go to college, you couldn't get on Facebook. And I was like, well, whatever. And then all of a sudden you could get on Facebook, which I wish I never fucking got on Facebook. But yeah, it's like, thank God, like, no, like knowing how I was anyways, because I was fucking sharing slutty pictures in like 2007. But like, thank God that wasn't when I was a kid, or like young. I'm with you on that. Like, thank God that didn't fucking happen at that point. Because how do these kids survive nowadays?
I don't know. They've got a lot to contend with. It's like they live in this fake world where all these interactions are online, where they see all these like filtered faces and all of this pressure to like look a certain way, and it's like I don't know. I don't envy it. I really, and I think that kids, like I know like my niece and nephew and stuff, like I feel like there's like kind of a loneliness to childhood that I didn't experience. Like in my childhood, I was like riding bikes around the neighborhood, like running around. Like my parents would be like, go outside, goodbye. And I would just go and like do my thing. And like I just feel like it's so different now.
It is. And people are like so mean online and so like weird.
I know.
And
my little
like parents. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say my little niece, like she stopped using all social media because she was like getting bullied on her Instagram. My like sweet little niece. And I'm just like, I can't.
No. Well, it's like, and then that's half the problem too, is like, I mean, we're not parents yet, but I'm like, why are people letting their kids online so much too? Like, I understand, like, there's that aspect of it you kind of can't control, but then there is like I grew up like you. I didn't have friends around, but I grew up out in the country, go outside, fucking play, right? And like, I had a strict life. Like my parents controlled everything I did. They knew who I was around every time. I couldn't go to just anybody's house. So it's like, how are so many people letting their kids like be online, talking to who the fuck ever, right? Like
I'm seeing whatever. It's like all they have to do is type in like one word and they're like accessing the most depraved like shit ever created in humanity's existence. Like, you know what I mean? It's
that's
like
wild.
You're one click away from like God knows what,
I had a friend who he was a single dad, which I understand that's hard, but like he would let his daughter, who was like 6 or 7, be online all night. And I'm like, do you know who she's fucking talking to? Do you know what the fuck is even? It's just, but you don't like tell people, it's like, I judge that little mix.
It's so easy though. It's like, what is the easiest way if you have a kid that like is bored and wants something to do? It's like, just hand them the phone, hand them the screen,
It's so much easier. Thanks, Chris. What are you talking about? My podcast is so wholesome and wonderful. No, he's fun. If everybody go follow Nap Time with Chris. He's got a great show. No, it is weird. Now that I'm like older, I'm like, man, if I had kids, I'd be so strict, especially with the internet stuff. Like,
I want to be like a weird little family, like in the forest somewhere, like in our little homestead or something, or like I just want to be away from like everyone else.
It's just easier. Because half the time, like people are exposed. Half the time, kids, which there is an organic, natural progression where kids will get exposed to things with other kids. There is like that. But like if you're out in the fucking middle of nowhere, which is what my parents did, like, but then the internet was invented. That's the difference. We did get internet like at the very end of my childhood. So yeah, I saw some titties and stuff. But I like also my parents were like, we're not, I like didn't hang out with anybody there. If there was, and there wasn't very many kids that lived around us, like once in a while there would be, but I get it though. I'm like, I get it. I get it. Now the strict thing, because people seem so like too like whatever, let them do whatever, and I'm like, I don't, like you said, just put a screen. I one time I babysat this. She was 6 months old, a little 6-month-old baby, and like at one point I just grabbed, like I was holding her and I grabbed my phone real quick, and she like looked at the screen right away. You know, like she was already trained to look at the screen right away, and I was like, oh shit.
They learn so fast too. Like they just like they pick it up so quick. You know,
we get hooked to it, so you can understand why like a tiny human would get hooked to it, right? But it's like, yeah, they get the screen time. It's entertaining. It's constant. Like
the different. Like I saw something. Like obviously, I don't remember the exact numbers, but like the vibration rate of like our bodies and our vibrational frequency, the phone is like something like 1,000 times that. So it's like the energy that we're absorbing is so intense for us. And it's like, even on a level beyond just like energetically in that sense, it's like, think of just how much we're consuming consciously, how much we're reading, how much we're looking at, how much we're seeing, how it's more than like humans 100 years ago consumed in like a lifetime. In one day we're like doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like we haven't evolved enough to like we're supposed to evolve to this technology, but we haven't evolved that much, and we're getting all this in. It's crazy.
Too much.
It's crazy.
People are overwhelmed, I feel like. And that's why I feel like people are zombies. It's like people are checking out. It's like we have these wastelands in cities of just like zombies, basically. Like, you know, and even the people driving around and like just the way people are now is like it's very zombie-like to me.
Well, yeah, very just like driven by something. They're like driven by something they don't even control. Go on.
Well, I was going to say, like, one of my friends asked me the other day, she was like, do you feel like since people have been like gotten the you-know-what, that like they've been driving more like zombie-like that people on the road just seem like completely like detached and unaware, and just like, I don't know if those things are related, but it definitely does seem like people are on another wavelength now, you know?
Well, they fell into that trap of just not thinking for themselves, right? Like not just, especially because of social media, like the pressure and the like, yeah, like, no, I get that for sure. People are way worse at driving right now. I'm a very aggressive driver.
Like I am. I'm like, get out of my way.
Let's be efficient. Like, let's be efficient. What the fuck?
That's how hot girls are supposed to drive. Like, I'm trying to get where I'm going. Like,
simple as. No, but something happened over the last 2 years where something got triggered in a lot of people where maybe they were already like that, but it just wasn't as noticeable, right? Maybe. Like, and then it got triggered.
I think over the last 2 years, like if you think about it, like before the pandemic, everyone's just going about their business, right? They're just like living their lives, doing their things, having their normal problems, whatever. But then it's like the pandemic happened, and it's like everyone got put on like this one channel, and then it was just like thing after thing after thing after thing, and it was like this constant like low vibrational panic, fear, struggle, like discomfort, all this stuff. And I just feel like it just got heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And when you try to break out of it, like I noticed in the holidays last year's holiday season, they turned that up so much. And it's like, because people were like celebrating, they're coming together, like they're trying to bring light into their lives. And it was like just constant, like more. And it really like, they're not allowing people to escape this like just constant heaviness. It's like, oh, you thought you got a break for a second? We're back on the abortion thing. A week later, we're back on the school. It's like just next. And it's like, I think people just can't, their nervous systems cannot handle it anymore, you know?
the stress. There's constant stress, and then inflammation, right? Which makes you get sick easier, right? Like,
yeah.
I just wish it was like a cold for most people. Like,
I know. But that's the most delusional part of this, is like not accepting that like what you thought was happening wasn't even happening. And like you're still convincing yourself that it is happening, even though it didn't happen, because you just can't wrap your head around this. Like,
it's like that's a psychosis.
It is a psychosis. That's exactly.
You're believing something that's not like necessarily true. Oh shit. Suffy said he got screenshots. I'm already drunk.
Oh
so.
God.
Suffy! Hey Alice. So Alice is my normal Thursday night co-host, but they're on vacation. So
fun.
Hey Alice, have fun. No, it is and it the way we've all gotten so hooked on social media and all that is how it continues, and it's like you meet people who aren't online much, like my dad and stuff, and they're like, yeah, whatever. It's just it's so different.
I think like, yeah, I mean, I try to like not let it affect me, I guess. And I think that that's like kind of the dip, but that's why I have to step away and take breaks too, because when I do take breaks, I'm like, oh, like the sun is shining, the birds are singing, like I'm back to just like not caring.
Yeah, Twitter has all the news right up, especially I only do Twitter basically, and it has everything right away, right?
Yeah.
Things are good. Today I like texted people. I'm like, did you get out in the sun today? It was so beautiful. We had snow a couple days ago, so it's like, get out in the sun today and soak it in. It's really nice. And yeah, I don't know. And then what do you do with people who are raised in that? Like,
I don't know.
My sisters don't let my nieces and nephews. They don't even have a phone and shit. And they're the ones. Let's see. She's probably gonna be a sophomore, I think. So and they're like, no, and I'm like, I get it. Yeah. Thank God.
That either.
I understand wanting to know where they are all the time. To that, like, I get that the technology does help you in that sense, where you're like, oh, so if something bad happens, you could have a track on them, right? But
yeah,
other than that, but we all survived with all that.
We survived. I know. I was just thinking that. I'm like, I got up to so much.
My mother got so mad one time when I lived out in the fucking middle of nowhere, and there was like, it's a neighborhood, but everyone has like a lot of acreage. And I like hung out with another kid one time, and like I didn't come home right away. My mom was so mad at me that I didn't like check in, and I'm like, it's so different now because with phones you can like watch your kids where they're at. It's just so different. I don't even know.
It's odd. It's odd. It's a weird world right now.
And you get these kids who go on Discord or whatever, and they're like unhappy, and they have daddy. I'm terrible, but there's like a joke I've been working on. Not that I'm a stand-up comedian, but I've been like working on this joke because you remember, especially people like our age-ish, they would say, oh, you have daddy issues if you want to have like get attention, or daddy issues was like the biggest thing people said the last 10 years about girls. Yeah. So, oh, she has daddy issues, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, when a girl has daddy issues, she like strips or just wants attention or will like a bad man, right? When dudes have daddy issues, they'll be a fucking school shooter or like that's literally, and that's true. Like, I don't mean to be like light about it, but that's like fucking true. Like, it's wild. Every time there's a shooter, they like don't have a dad or whatever. And we all know about, I love that we're all like, we're trad, but not super trad.
Oh God.
I was saying that about Thought because she's working with high schoolers wherever she's working right now. And I'm like, but she's a good example because she can say, hey, like, you can be chill and like do this stuff. And maybe there's better choices you can make, but you can still have fun. That's what I feel like is good.
I was thinking about this the other day. Whenever I see people that are like the people that comment things like, oh, you just want attention, like you want so much attention. And it's like, yeah, I like attention. Why is that like a problem for you? Like,
right.
you just are jealous that like you're not getting attention. That's like what the issue is here. Like, obviously there's like seeking out negative attention is not a fun thing to watch someone
There's
do,
a toxic. There could be people who do it toxic, right? But
it's like just liking attention. It's like, yeah, I've been like that my whole life. I was a performer, a dancer. Like, I fucking love walking out on stage and everyone's looking at me and clapping for me. Like, I like it. Yes, that is who I am. I enjoy it.
Well, that's what I love about like when you can control it. Like someone texts me or DM me to they're like, how do you fucking like have all these simps and control them? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's not even like, it's if you just like are honest about it and like, hey, yeah, I obviously fucking want attention at this point, but it's like it's not a bad thing, you know, it's not like from a bad place, which some people it can be. And I get where I remember when I first got on Facebook or Twitter, like some people thought that. I'm like, no, I'm not one of those people where it's like from a bad place. Like, I'm just hot. Sorry.
Well, I think you get what you give in life. And so if you're showing up in a certain way and you have a good attitude and you're kind and you're funny and people enjoy what you bring to the space, then like you're going to get that for the most part back. And like when there does happen to be the occasional person who's like a hater and like having issues, then you just block them or mute them or whatever and like move on from it, you know?
Yeah, especially if they don't get it. Like, I'm like, bitch, I've been doing this since 07, first of all. Second of all, like, it's for my own, this is my own fucking game. Like, I don't know. Like, and they don't get it but when you can control it, that's what's better. And I don't know. It's weird. And even I always laugh because so many of these, like, especially on the libertarian and liberty side, when they're super traditional and conservative, they're still following me. They're still following me. And I'm like, y'all, I got you. You're living vicariously through me. It's good. I got you. There was one guy who I thought hated me because I would see some of the things he would say, right? And then I eventually got a message not too long ago, and his life is shit. His life isn't trad like you would want, you know, like there's shit going on because that's how life happens. You can't yeah, like shit fucking happens. And like, and he's like, oh, you know, and so I'm like, yes. And I would always see like, it's just, I don't know. I grew up that way too with a bunch of like super trad conservatives where I knew it was from a different place. I don't know. I've just always understood it's like, I get it. If I had kids, you know, I would be super trad conservative with my kids, right? But like, I don't have to be, so I'm not.
See, I'm like not. I didn't grow up around that at all. Like that was not. So that's kind of an adjustment for me to like be around that on Twitter and like people's attitudes towards women and some of the things that people say. I'm like, what is this? Like that was not how I was brought up at all. Like my parents were like hippies.
We're in California.
And that, yeah, it's just not how it is here. Like the attitudes towards like women and what they're supposed to be doing with their lives and all this stuff. I'm like, this is like so foreign to me. Like so foreign to me.
Well, they want to force it so much. And I'm like, you can't force it. Like, you just can't. I'm like, that's not how it is. Oh, the culture war bullshit. I'm like, no, like you can't fucking, especially half the people who want to push this culture war about like being more conservative and shit. They're all divorced. They were cheating on their wives and then got divorced and shit. So I'm like, you have no place to fucking speak.
Don't worry about you. Like, how about you clean up your yard first, and then we can talk.
And if your culture is amazing, people just live your life, and people will be drawn to it.
Exactly.
You don't have to force it.
So weird.
But I think that's why people like you and me are like, people like us on Twitter, especially because it's like, okay, these people they understand the basic shit, but they can still live their lives. And I'm sorry, but like being sexy and I understand why like the whole OnlyFans and all this shit blew up because people do need like sexiness in their lives. They do need this like thing, right? So if you can do it in a way that's like not as detrimental to like the soul, you know what I mean? That's
I
how I
mean,
feel we are.
I think that a woman who's like empowered in her sexuality and comfortable in her body and loves herself and like shows that aspect of herself, to me, like I think that that is like the one of the most powerful like aspects
It's
of,
power.
and that's why it freaks people out. That's why people get upset by it. They're triggered by it. They're bothered by it. But it's like I'll never change that part of myself. And I have like no, like, I'm proud of who I am. There's no part of me that I'm like, oh, like I shouldn't have done that, or that came from a weird, it's like, no, like I'm conscious of the choices that I make and I'm proud of who I am, even if people don't feel free to not like that, you know?
When you step into the power of it, you have more control of it, and you're more like, you're not like what they think of this like crazy OnlyFans shit or whatever, like, which I get because there are people who are out of control with it, right? But they don't, but we are like in control of it, and it's helpful to society. I'm sorry, but sexy women are like helpful to society.
Obviously, yes. But I think that there's like, I feel this way with most things where there's always a duality to things. So it's like you can look at something and you can see the bad side of it, or you can look at something and you can see the good side of it. And it's like, things always exist along like the spectrum of those two things, kind of like our choice in the way that we perceive things. And I feel this way about a lot of things where like, and I teach this a lot to like my students where like, if you have a judgment and you hold on really tightly to like what you believe, where you're like, this is the way it is and I believe this and I'm going to like hold fast to this, you're creating a barrier through which like there's no space for expansion. As long as you hold on tightly to that, there's no possibility for growth within that space because you've created the container and that you're stuck in there. And so when you start to like release your grip on things and start to open your mind to like other possibilities of like, oh, maybe there is another way that I could look at this. Maybe I actually can see that there's like a million different ways of looking at this one thing. And I'm just holding fast to this one way. And it's like, once people let go of their attachment to like, this is how something is, then it's like, oh my God, there's this whole world that I can experience. And I see that with so many things where it's like, people have experienced like the surface level of something and they've decided that is bad. I don't like it. It's wrong. And it's like, okay, but you've only seen it from this one perspective when there's this whole other like way that you could be looking at it. And instead you're not allowing yourself to experience it because you've closed yourself off to it. And it's like, I don't know. I feel that way about so many things where like, I'm like a yes person where I'm just like, yeah, let me try this new thing. Let me experience this thing that someone's told me about that I've never heard of before. And that's how I've like lived such a rich life, is because I've been open. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and experience things. And, no, but even if you are, people can be kind of stuck in whatever thing they want. But as long as you understand there are other people who will look at it a different way and will live a different way, and it's fine. It's fine. Like, it's fine for other people to do things differently, And I think one of my favorite thing a yoga teacher ever did was like every time we would do like a more difficult pose, she would say, we would like sit there and she'd say, just picture yourself doing it. Just picture yourself doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then like it works. Like it would really fucking work sometimes where you're like, she would say, just close your eyes. She would show us a pose, close your eyes. And then like, okay, if I picture myself doing this and then I'll do it. Right. And like, in life, even if you're not gonna like fucking do it that way, if you can just picture that other people are gonna do these things this way, it's fine. Like it's fine. Especially, and if it's detrimental and bad, then you're like, whatever. I can't control other people, right?
Exactly.
So
well, and I think that's a really powerful like mindset shift in and of itself, like, which is one of the things I love about yoga, where it's like, if you can come into a yoga class and start to practice in your mind, like, okay, I'm going to picture myself being able to do this pose. And then you're finally able to accomplish that and you see the progress. And it's like, okay, well, what if we take that outside of the yoga class? And it's like, okay, now I'm picturing myself living in my dream house. I pictured it and now I have it and it's here. And
it's so like, pretty. It's so pretty. I love it.
But it's like that is like the power of our minds. We start to picture ourselves. I picture myself happy. I picture myself accomplishing my dreams and this, that, and the other. And you start to get into the practice of like that being the way that you live your life. And then that's what starts to like transform, instead of you being in this mindset of like, I can't do this. I'm a failure. I'm bad. And it's like so many people have that negative self-talk that they've just created a little prison that they live in, where they're like, I don't deserve, I'm not capable, I'm stuck. And that's just the little box they've created around themselves, you know?
Yeah, especially I'll get messages of men asking like relationship stuff. And they'll be like, yeah, well, it's just not going to happen or whatever. And I'm like, why would you say that? Why would you say it's not going to happen? Like you obviously want something to happen and you're going to say it's not going to happen. I'm like, whatever foo-foo stuff you think, but I'm like, don't say that. Just say it's, I'm just here right now. I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, don't put out to the universe, oh, it's not going to happen, because that, then it won't happen, right? Like
the self-fulfilling prophecy, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you believe in your mind, like, I'm going to mess this up or this isn't going to work or whatever. And then when that happens, you've self-confirmed and you're like, I knew it, that it wasn't going to work out or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, what if you had a different perspective, a different attitude? Like, you know, I wish there's so many people that have come into my life that I'm like, if you could just see things from my perspective.
I know, because I've said that a couple of times. I'm like, well, and my like the way I say it, I'm like, don't put that out in the universe. And they're like, well, fuck you frou-frou bitch. And I'm like, no, it's just what you say. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, and then when it happens, you're like, oh, see, I'm right. And then it'll never fucking happen or whatever. And it's like, oh.
Words are energy. Our thoughts are energy. Everything in the universe is just energy. That is a fact. That is just physics. That's not like some frou-frou spiritual thing. Like that is just a fact. Everything is energy. And so vibrations are constantly matching. If whatever it is that you are vibrating at, the frequency that you are at, you are going to match. You are going to call in what matches your frequency. And so if you like are able to change your frequency, change the channel, you can change the way you experience life. And that's what that's why I do what I do, is to try to teach that exact concept to people. That's why like the yoga, all of it is just a vehicle for like understanding that.
It's so nice in yoga because you can like see it almost instantly. Like, oh,
yes.
Picture yourself doing, even if it's something simple, like say, hey, just picture in your mind doing this. And then you do it. And you're like, oh, see? Like, it's that fucking easy. Steffi's out here.
He loves me. He loves my woo-woo shit.
I love it. Here's a comment. Lorenzo said, I'm trying to work myself out of a thought prison where I told myself I'm worthless for years. Even now, someone telling me I'm attractive or smart makes you, yeah. And that's how a lot of people, they're like, I hate compliments, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man.
So I would say to that like being aware of yourself is the first step towards changing something. So the fact that you're aware of that is like a huge accomplishment and a huge step forward. And so now it's just on you to decide what you do with that awareness. And so you start to notice your thoughts and notice when you're going to places that you don't want to be, when you're falling into patterns that are like negative or destructive or whatever it is. And you start to find positive things to replace that with, whether it's, you know, watching a video on YouTube that's like positive thought affirmations, and you just start listening to that and repeating that. And like whatever it is, maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's going outside, it's just shifting your perspective. Once you're aware of it, then you start to say, I don't want to experience that anymore. And that's my sovereign choice, is to decide that I would like to experience something different. And that is what you're capable of doing to change that. And I think it's awesome that you're able to recognize that and that you're like, on the path towards changing it, because you deserve that. You deserve to be happy.
And compliments are good. Like compliments are good.
They are.
I'm like, I fucking love compliments. Like, that's so divine. I'm like, can't connect her. Oh, Suffy's in here saying this. But their text. Oh, that's funny.
Wait, what do you mean? What does he mean?
Maybe he reads your text in a different voice from your real voice. Maybe
her voice with her text. What do you think my voice would sound like?
The internet's so funny. I love it.
I know.
It's a crazy ass world, that's for sure.
I have this thing where, like, it doesn't even matter, like, if it's the first avatar that I saw for someone, but if I don't know what someone looks like in person and they have, like, some other kind of avatar on Twitter, that's who they are to me in my mind. Even if it's, like, some weird cartoon or it's a famous person, I'm like, that is who I'm talking to. Like, it's a weird thing, but I'm just like, no, that's who you are. Like,
I know. Yeah, I know. Twitter especially made me feel that way because it was like, you know, Facebook was different because a lot of people would have them on Facebook, right? And then like, yeah, Twitter is different.
I wasn't friends with people I didn't know on Facebook. Like, Facebook has always been like people I've known. And then Instagram, I've only like really followed people I've known or people who are doing things that I was interested in. But Instagram's not like a mutual follow. I mean, I guess Twitter's not either, but Facebook is.
Random.
So
yeah,
friends.
Facebook is.
But yeah, Facebook, I like really burned like that down during 2020. Like, I went so hard on Facebook, like, just, and people were just like, whoa. Like, all these people were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I can't show my face on Facebook ever again. I like turned my back away and I'm like, I'm done here.
Yeah, I haven't been back on. I got doxxed, and then so it was like right during the first like 15 days or whatever. I got off of Facebook, and I haven't been back since 2020. Like,
no, me either.
It was weird because even on Twitter, I'm like, it just feels different. On Facebook, like, I got like someone knew my family through Facebook because you're all connected, right? And like, it was just different. Whereas Twitter is not like that. So. No. I know. I would have been a fucking, oh my God, if I had been on there during COVID, shit. Everyone would have hated me.
Everybody on there, I swear to you, I'm like, I don't think I can ever post something on Facebook again. I think I really burned that down. I like threw a grenade into that community and I'm done now.
As you should. Like, especially like pretty girls, you're like, hello, this is how I feel, and that's it. And that's why on Instagram I had a bunch of people who would get mad. So then I had Twitter and Instagram still, and like a couple of people started getting mad at me on Instagram, and I'm like, fuck off. And then now it's all the Liberty people who follow me on Instagram anyway. So
people got so mad at me on Instagram too. I alienated a lot of people on Instagram as well.
As we should, because people were telling me, this one fucking dude, I've been friends with him from online for a long ass time, and he'd be like, well, you shouldn't be listening to like YouTube people and blah blah blah. And I'm like, motherfucker. I remember I made a video specifically for this motherfucker because I was like, okay, you think you're smart? If you're a smart person, saying not listening to all the things you can listen to is like the dumbest thing possible. Like, you should listen to fucking everything, right? Like, he even said the other day, what did I post? Oh, he said something about the roads. I posted something about how the government's a fucking shit show. He's like, well, how would we have roads? And I'm like, oh God, Lord Jesus Christ. Like, don't talk about the fucking roads.
I can't with that argument. I'm like, no, I'm too far gone to even have this conversation with you.
I haven't even looked back to see if he responded because I was like, listen, I said something like, you idiot. Like, I don't think I said idiot, but I was in my mind, like, you idiot. The roads are built by private companies that the government, you know, it was just all this bullshit where like, we all know And
Yes, we need a middleman who like violently extorts money from us to like contract private people to build the road. It's like, you're
so
stupid.
simple to understand this shit. And people are not there. They're just not there at all.
That's how I felt like when I like basically blew up Facebook and blew up my Instagram following. For me, I was like, what I'm saying is so common sense. It's just common sense. It's not emotionally driven. It's not like, oh my God, like this side or that side or anything. It's literal asking you to like have common sense. And it's making you all so mad. Like I'm saying something so irrationally crazy. And I'm just like, I'm not the crazy one here. I'm not the crazy one.
It's not. Like, I brought something about like when they started pushing the boosters. I'm like, oh yeah, it's totally normal to have a fucking booster for a flu shot, cold shot, whatever. And then like I had a nurse friend who was part of like a kinky community.
Nurses are the worst.
Oh, and she was like, well, we had to do this blah 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 for polio, but and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is not polio, and this is not like it was so frustrating. And now what? They're on like the fucking 4th or 5th booster. Like, and it's so fucked up. That's not normal. It's common sense that this is not normal.
Nurses have shown themselves to be absolutely insane over the last like couple of years.
It's true. Like I have a couple I met, luckily especially through the Mises Caucus here in Colorado. There's a couple I met, although now the one's moving, because we had started a PAC, a political action committee out here to start fighting, because they had made it so our licensing board, which licenses my real estate agent, my real estate broker license, but also licenses nurses and stuff. They put in, you had to get a vax for it, right? And so people had to like get a exemption and all this shit. So we started this PAC to try and like fight it, but it's gone nowhere. I've dissolved it. So it's like people, but it's so weird. It's like, why were you? She would tell me, she's like a healthy girl, and her parent. It was funny because she laughed because her parents were more like, don't get vaccinated, even normal vaccinations, right? And then she kind of did when she had kids, but then she changed her mind now, obviously. And she said she was working with these nurses who were all overweight, and they were all like, you have to get it. Like, you just have to, because I know nurses and doctors get a lot more of the vaccinations, which makes sense to some extent if they're real vaccines for real things, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, all these fucking idiot nurse, and like, that's what made me crazy when this one nurse was like, yeah, it's normal to have a fucking booster for a flu shot 3 times in a year. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's not even normal to be getting a flu shot. Like I fully believe that the people that get the flu shots are the ones that spread the flu around. Like, why are you getting a shot that you said is going to prevent you from getting sick, that makes you sick? Like, I just cannot follow the logic of that. I've never been on board with the flu shot. Like, I'm good with my immune system. Thank you.
Yeah, it's purposely putting something in you when you're like, I could just catch it naturally. Like with all COVID and flu, it's like, I could just catch it naturally and we'll see what happens. Or I can purposely fucking put it in my body. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
What is this stuff? Like, at this whole, I was never like I never had a opinion on vaccines other than the fact that I was never going to get a flu shot. But like, I don't, now I'm like, what is any of this stuff? I don't trust any of it. I don't trust like anything that's unnatural. Like, why? You know?
No, I feel I got, so like around when I went into high school, I had to get like my MMR or whatever vaccine. Yeah. And then I turned 16 and I got the fucking shingles at 16. Like, what the fuck? I shouldn't have fucking got the shingles at 16. And I'm like, now I used to tell my parents it's because they stressed me out. It was like, it was your fault. You stressed me out. But now I'm like, it was probably from all the vaccines I had to get into high school, whatever I took at that age. Like, because now they're saying people are getting shingles from the fucking COVID shot. And then you can go get your shingles vaccine. Like, it's so messed up. It's so messed up.
When I was a little kid, I had like complete and total meltdowns every time that I had to be given a shot. Like, I'm talking like meltdown, like I had to be held down by like multiple people. And I'm not like a person who's like scared of needles or like anything like that. And I'm like, when I look back on that now, like, I feel like I was a very intuitive child, and like, I didn't want this stuff injected into my body. Like, my body, my intuition as a child was like, this is bad. I don't want it. Like, you know?
It makes sense. It makes sense. Like,
and my best friend worked with kids with autism for like 10 years. And she said every single parent she ever worked with said that their children's development completely changed after getting vaccinated. That's when it began. And so it's like, I just got like the chills when I said that, but it's like,
well, and how is everyone so sick? Everybody has all these autoimmune shit now. Like,
issues. I know.
My brother-in-law had to get a fucking liver transplant from he never drank or anything. I'm like, good luck to my liver. But like, he never drank or anything, and he had to get a fucking liver transplant. And he's had all this ulcerative colitis and other issues and shit. And it's like, come on, people, like, wake up. Like, when you're purposely putting something, yeah, maybe there are some diseases that medical shit was able to fix, right? But like, not really. Like, even when you read up on polio now, they're like, I don't know if you've read any of the like things about polio where these people are like, no, there is no polio. It was just that they had metal and fucking kids. My dad said he would run behind the DDT truck and all this shit, and that was full of metals and full of, who the hell knows? Like, it's all so convoluted, and then they tell us we're not supposed to trust our body. That's what I hated.
That's terrible. And also, like, there are so many other different types of forms of medicine. Like, Western medicine is not the be all end all to like health and wellness. You know what I mean? And like, if anything, they've like thwarted like thousands of years and generations of like homeopathic treatments for things, like, just because that's not going to make you money. Like taking psilocybin, which was good, would actually cure your depression and whatever it is, like make you feel 1,000 times better. They're not going to market that and sell that, because what is 3 pills going to make them as opposed to a lifetime of SSRIs? It's like all about like making money. It's not about healing. It's not about health,
and getting kids on it too. Like, I'm getting like the younger and younger kids on it and shit. Like, shit, man. I don't know. It's so weird. I remember even like, because Ritalin came around when I was like in middle school, and they're like, oh, and they were prescribing everybody for this. And I was like, well, maybe kids aren't fucking supposed to sit in school all day or whatever. And that's why they're acting up. No one thought about that. Just drug them, which I love drugs. I love drugs. But like, there's a time and a place. Anyways, this was a great conversation tonight.
It was.
I love it. I love talking to you, Emily. I love you as a person too.
Know. Same.
And we will meet because we have to do the photos. Yeah, we got to do the photos.
I want to.
Fucking flights are so expensive right now. Like, I was looking some up last night, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Damn, we should have booked it when we talked about it the last time, because when I looked the last time, it was cheap, actually.
How much in July? Is it cheap in July at all? Let's figure it out, because like I said, I know my guy, he's free whenever. So like, we can plan around us.
Let's plan it, because I need to get out of California. I need a little adventure.
And I'll pick you up. Like, I'll drive you. You don't got to rent a car. You don't got to pay for a hotel or nothing like that. So it'll just be the flight. It'll just be the flight.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're over an hour. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. And I'm like fucked up and moving around a lot. Sorry, everybody. Do you ever do the spaces, Emily, on Twitter? Have you ever jumped into space?
I don't.
Oh shit, they're so addictive. Like,
really? Why?
It's just fun because you're talking to people. It's like a voice chat. And like, so it's like this, just without video, and it's all your Twitter peeps, and it's just fun. I get addicted. I'm gonna probably jump on one after this. Too,
I feel like intrusive or something. Like, I'm like, oh, I wasn't like invited in there. Like, I feel weird. Like,
if you see me do one, come in, and you'll and it's fun. You just like, once you figure it out, it's totally fun. Like, I love it.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. Next time I see you in one, I'll pop in.
I'll probably be one in a little bit. But all right, thanks for being my guest host tonight and talking our shit. Yeah. And thanks for everybody in the chat talking, Constitutional Carpenter, you just showed up. We're about to end. But all right, everybody have. Oh, do you want to like plug any? It's a State of Emily on everywhere, right?
It's the State of Emily on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter.
And if you're not following her, she's fucking hot. I will always share her TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but when the ones you share them on Twitter, I'll always share them. So.
And these are my bodysuits that I made that you can buy if you want to. On my website, link in bio.
Oh, you have a okay. I gotta check out your website.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody, and have a good Thursday night. Bye.
Yay.